Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look,
Again, I mean, he's popping up with some goals, but they are on form. I don't think they've lost since coming to the lane.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can stop them. But they're on a roll. We've lost. We've got to pick ourselves up. We've got a huge game against Sunderland the weekend, followed by another home game in the Capital One Cup against Sheffield United in the first leg semi-final. So 3 home games.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of Spurs fans are looking to go to all of those.
Yeah.
And it's a pivotal week. We could find ourselves out of one competition and potentially further back in the race for 4th place, which after yesterday, do we deserve to even get to that point? I've heard a lot of doom mongers saying that we don't deserve that based on yesterday's performance. It's neither here nor there. And then, of course, we could be facing a big hole. You never like to go away to play the second leg because you've got to either protect a lead or the other team knows exactly what they've got to get done. But we've got to start banging in some goals. To your point earlier, Sam, Arsenal make it easy winning 3-0 and we've got a goal difference of +1.
Yeah.
And it makes it all the
2-1 seems to be our favourite score.
And let me
we really need to batter someone.
Let me put this out too, and I watched this during Palace and even during the first Burnley match. How much are we missing already? Bentaleb, Mason, and Lamela. 2 for injury, 1 off at Africa Cup of Nations. To me, the chemistry looked absolutely deplorable against Palace. It was like nobody knew where everybody should be at any given time. Even when Soldado came on, did he even touch the ball once in the last 20 minutes of the match? Everybody seemed a little bit out of sorts to me. And when Simon starts talking about the captain needs to be in the midfield, none of them are the captain, but everything seems to be going through Bentaleb and Mason and into Eriksen and Lamela and Chadley to get those runs started. And without having them in there, we all of a sudden went from a little bit of physical but more speedy and possession types to Stambouli, who's very good with his feet but extraordinarily slow, and Dembele, who's a beast physically but he's not very fleet of foot.
Yeah.
And I think it disrupted the timing and the chemistry of what this system is supposed to be doing for us, how fast-paced it is, one-touch it is. I honestly think, and even on the Lamela front, that we are missing some of that quickness and decision-making and pinpoint passing, because yesterday, for as jaded as Stambouli was in the penalty, his passing was awful yesterday.
No, I agree. I think that, and I've said this all along, I don't believe, I think we've got a decent collection of midfielders. They're decent players. I think we have value in the youth that Mason has, and particularly Nabil has.
Yeah.
I would say, did we miss them? Well, Nabil is for 21 years old. He's really a hell of a leader. I mean, he was leading. I remember barking, much older players last year. I remember in the North London Derby watching him. So I think we missed a little bit of that, a little bit of his toughness. I certainly think that we missed Lamela because he is the player of the 3 that you've mentioned that absolutely gives a different dimension. He's threatening. He does things different than other players. He brings some speed. He's clever. So yeah, I would agree there. But look, it's unfortunate. We should have had any collection of those players and battered Palace. But these fixtures, they worry me. They all worry me. I mean, the Sheffield fixtures, they're very good. They're very good at beating big teams. Burnley, and I'm Spurs sick. I'll make no bones about it. But I'm not being unnecessarily doom and gloom here. How many times have we played Burnley? There's not a real reason that any one of us should have that we should feel it'll be a hard-fought, if we get a victory, a hard-fought victory. Yeah. We're very pleased with that, but I think that's about what we should be expecting here. So I'm hopeful that Lamela comes back. Is there a chance that he's back for that fixture? I don't really care who we got in the middle. Dembele, Stambouli. It's about all the same to me. But Lamela, I think, could be a bit of a game changer because Andros Townsend is just doesn't do anything.
Do we need to talk about Townsend?
No. Well, do we? Yeah, go ahead. Because we didn't talk about him much last week.
He was in the papers the other day and saying, "I don't want to leave. I'm a Spurs boy." And
well, you're talking about posturing, right? Boy, did he posture there? It was like, please don't sell me.
Yeah, and he was, to be honest, pretty poor in the first half, and obviously got subbed for it. He just did a lot of running without any end product. I know a lot of people were crying out for Lennon. I'm not sure if he would have made a difference. I don't know where his head's at right now. He's probably been told, you're not in my plans, and I'm shopping you along with several others. And again, we talk about the whole fly on the wall, and I really wish we did have a fly on the wall, because there's been a lot of talk about who's going, and don't want to get ahead of ourselves into the transfer window discussion we'll have later, but we've got problems clearly on the right wing right now with Lamela being out, and I know that's not his favoured position, but it's a nice option to have him there to make an impact in the game if he's to come off the bench, and Townsend just didn't give us that dimension. To be honest, Chadley had a poor game, I thought.
As did Eriksson.
Yeah, they were all, there was, as you said.
Yeah, and Harry was strangled for service. And,
well, yeah, and Ken mentions, Soldado hardly got a touch of the ball, but that wasn't necessarily his fault. He sort of showed a little bit in the last 5 minutes and actually created something, because he wasn't getting anything from any of the midfielders. It was just a very subpar performance in terms of end product from anybody in our midfield.
I think Harry was going to get the ball himself to dribble it in, and many a time obviously he was crowded out, or he had no one to pass to, because he should be the one receiving the ball, not getting the ball. And I think that's probably where we're really weak right now. And in the Chelsea match, everyone was on the game. Chadley,
Service
was having a game. Townsend was having a great game. I don't know if they were drinking their Kool-Aid, were they?
No, I mean, we talked about it. We went through this period where there's sort of this barren spell of games where there was any end product in the 18. And Chelsea match, we had that, and we just, I can't think of a ball that went into the 18 for somebody to try and put away against Alice.
I just, when I look at this FA Cup title, it really makes me, I get concerned about these things, because when you look at me and Shackle, Duff, Trippier, and Marnie and Arfield in the midfield, they're very formidable defensively, and all they have to do is get one good breakaway. And with Ings being in the form that he's in, along with Djukovic, these guys know how to finish if they're given the opportunity. And it's all the way up and down the league, even in QPR. For as bad as they're struggling, if you give Austin half a chance, he's going to slot the thing home. These clubs that are down at the bottom, the Leicesters, the Burnleys, QPR, they all have formidable folks who can slot the ball in, whether it be Mahrez for Leicester or whatever the case may be. But defensively is where Burnley seems to give teams a lot of difficulty, and their counter-attacking system works for them. They generally play like a 4-4-1-1, and they'll put Djukovic behind Ings, much like what we like to do with Kane and Soldado at times. But
physical,
very physical, and if we don't find some kind of way to break down that back four. And as we recall, we were watching that Palace game before they had scored, and everybody to a man in the pub was like, we need one more. We're going to need one more.
Yep.
And we never got it, and the end result is what it was. And I fear the same thing happening with Burnley, unless Pochettino can figure out, how do we get beyond that. And for the pile up of fixtures that are coming, we have 6 more potentially left in this month alone.
Yeah.
And is this a time where you say, Soldado, you're starting, and Kane, you're not, just to give Kane a little bit of a breather, or do you dare bring Addy out and let him play this, to let you continue on in the cup?
I think, Soldado started against Burnley, didn't he?
He did. And Kane came on late.
Kane came on. Kane's young and he wants to play a lot, but I see the same thing happening. Soldado will start. I think Paulinho might be in the mix. I know he's on the shopping list too, but it's definitely going to be a different team that faces Burnley. And again, they've got the distraction of another game that they don't really want, while they continue this march up the table of theirs. And we've been referring to it since I've joined the pod. I look at the Premier League form guide and know it's as fickle as any Spurs fan can be at times. We dropped to 5th. Burnley, believe it or not, have moved up to 8th because they are unbeaten in 3 games. Actually, they did lose after us to Liverpool at home, but they're unbeaten in their last 3 games, which that will move you a lot up the form guide, and obviously in the Premier League table. In fact, Palace moved off the second bottom up to like 13th. So a win does does a team a lot of good, and it can,
no,
it can turn the season.
First fixture does a team a lot of good.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about this. Now, I've mentioned way long time ago, and I continue to say it. I like being in all these competitions. I like being in Europe because I'm a fan, and as a fan, I want to see the club win shit. That's all I care about. But would it be the worst thing in the world if we got bounced from the FA Cup? Being that we're so close to going to Wembley, if we can get past Sheffield United, and maybe even get bounced in Europe? Dare I say it?
No. God forbid. As an age-old Spurs fan who's used to us doing well in cup competitions, that's the furthest thing from my mind. I want us to win everything. I think we all want to do that at the beginning of the season, and you don't want replays. But we said it last week with our optimistic FA Cup review, and I want us to win it. We have not got our hands on that trophy. Look, I hate to say it, whenever they show whoever in red and white was lifting the cup last May, I want that to be us. I want that to be us. I want us to do it. I want us to get to Wembley for March 1st, and I want us to beat either Liverpool or Chelsea and win that. And I want us to win the Europa League. Think about that Liverpool team. 2001, I believe, they won all three of those trophies: FA Cup, League Cup, and the UEFA Cup as it was back then. And at that's a phenomenal feat.
And at the pub, we've kind of been cheekily talking about, hey, we're still in line for the treble. So there it is.
Well, I think that there needs to be a cultural change at the club, and I think winning whenever you can initiates that process of that beginning that winning mentality. So, and I think that we have a very, very big squad. And there's, even with, I know Mason's hurt, Lamella's hurt, Nabil being gone, but we should be able to manage through, in a perfect world, we should be able to manage through, 2 fixtures with Sheffield United, one with Sunderland, the Burnley match. We should be able to have the players to get us through this. And so here's my key to all of this. I had a very quick shout out. So this guy, Andrew Gaffney, I think he's a writer for... I think he may be a writer for one of the Spanish clubs, maybe Valencia, but he's Gaffney VL at Gaffney VLC, and we were just sort of talking about Bentaleb and Mason, and like as I've said, I think they're all pretty decent. I don't think any of them are any light years better than the other. But I think the key is this: Dembele held the ball up very well against Palace, but the one thing that he continues to not do is be an offensive element for this team. The one time that he did, he went down the left side and actually whipped in a pretty good cross. He just needs to do that more, therefore take pressure off of Eriksen. And I think whether you play Townsend, or we'd obviously prefer Lamela in there somewhere, but I think we have enough to get through this and then get Nabil back and get Mason healthy, make a move in the window, and you're playing with somewhat of a different deck of cards. That's my thinking to all of this.
Yeah, and it brings up a point. I want to just go backwards just a shade. I want to ask you both a question. Simon was talking about, for as much as we all love Lloris, he really shouldn't be captain, and none of us like goalkeepers as captains, let's face it. Is the captain that we should have in the midfield currently on the roster?
No, he's not. I agree with the chairman that in a perfect world, Hugo shouldn't be captain, but he is the best candidate for captain that we have. So to your point, we don't have that player. And as I said earlier today in this chat with this Andrew Gaffney, that costs a lot of money. There's very few of them. There's not a whole lot of guys that are sort of box to box, break your legs and move the ball up the field. And not stand for any bollocks and get guys where they need to be and scream and shout. And
in January, either everybody still thinks they have a shot at the title, or they still have a shot of not being relegated. So it's very difficult to crowbar those people out of other clubs and bring them to your club to make a difference when you're trying to win 3 trophies. And maybe make top 4.
That's what we said last week. That who is going to give up someone at this stage of the season? Unless you've figured out you're going to end up mid-table, which it's way too early to be able to predict that. You could go on a run of 6 games and be in a relegation dogfight, or be challenging for the top 3 or 4. I think Southampton they've got over their Christmas wobble and they're back in there. That was a massive win for them at Old Trafford. Van Gaal was making Mourinho-like excuses with they got lucky, they came at a draw. Well, guess what, mate? They won.
Yeah.
You didn't. What did you do in your game plan? Because I thought United were pretty toothless, and they're stumbling right now. Yeah. They've drawn all these away games, and now they've come a cropper at home against a team that has the same aspirations as they do. So good luck to Southampton.